The distress beacon cut through the silence of deep space like a scream in the dark. Dr. Sarah Chen jolted awake in her research vessel's cramped quarters, her heart hammering against her ribs as the emergency alert pierced through her dreams. The red warning lights cast eerie shadows across her face as she stumbled to the control console, her bare feet cold against the metal flooring. "Computer, report status," she commanded, her voice hoarse from sleep. "Distress signal detected at coordinates 77 Alpha 9. Origin unknown. Signal strength suggests proximity of 12 hours at current velocity." The AI responded in its maddeningly calm tone. Sarah's hands trembled as she pulled up the navigation display. She was 3 days out from the nearest human outpost, conducting routine surveys of the Kepler 400 and 42 systems' outer planets. This sector was supposed to be empty, a dead zone between human and known alien territories, where nothing lived, nothing thrived. "Play the signal," she whispered. What emerged from the speakers made her blood turn to ice. It wasn't the mechanical beeping of a standard distress beacon. It was organic, desperate, a series of clicks and warbles that spoke of pain and terror even without translation. But beneath the alien sounds, she heard something else, something that made her stomach clench with recognition. Children crying. Sarah's doctoral work in cynobiology had exposed her to hundreds of alien vocalizations, but this was different. The pure, raw emotion transcended species barriers. Those were the sounds of young ones in distress, calling out for help that might never come. "Computers set course for the signal's origin. Maximum velocity." "Dr. Chen, regulations require contact with Colonial Command before." "Override authorization Chen 77 Alpha." "Emergency protocols in effect." The ship's engines roared to life, pressing Sarah back into her chair as they accelerated toward the unknown. Her mind raced with possibilities, each more terrifying than the last. What could have happened out here in the emptiness? Pirates? Equipment failure? Or something worse, something that had driven an alien vessel into human space, desperate enough to broadcast their location to potential enemies. 8 hours later, Sarah's viewport filled with wreckage. The alien ship hung in space like a broken bird, its hull split open in 3 places with debris floating around it like a silver cloud. The vessel's design was unlike anything in the human databases, organic curves that seemed grown rather than built, with a dark, chitinous surface that reminded Sarah of beetle shells. Emergency lights flickered weakly along its damaged sections, and atmosphere was venting from multiple breaches. "Life signs?" Sarah asked, her throat tight. "Detecting 5 biosignatures. 4 consistent with juvenile specimens. 1 adult, rapidly weakening." Sarah's training kicked in, overriding her fear. She'd spent 12 years studying alien life forms, but she'd never encountered living specimens in distress. Every protocol screamed at her to maintain distance, to call for backup, to follow procedure. But those crying sounds echoed in her memory, and she found herself reaching for the docking controls. "Initiating emergency docking procedures," she announced to the empty bridge. The docking process took 40 minutes, an eternity while listening to the weakening distress calls. Sarah suited up in her full environmental gear, checking her universal translator and medical supplies twice before approaching the airlock. Her hands shook as she cycled through the pressure equalization sequence. The alien ship's interior was a nightmare of twisted metal and flickering bioluminescent panels. The air was thick and humid, smelling of ozone and something else. Something organic and sweet that made Sarah's stomach turn. She followed the sound of the crying, her helmet light cutting through the darkness as she navigated corridors that curved and branched like arteries. She found them in what appeared to be a central chamber. The adult alien was unlike anything Sarah had ever imagined. Tall and graceful even while collapsed against a damaged bulkhead, with 6 limbs and skin that shifted between deep blue and silver in the changing light. And Sarah was somehow certain it was female. face was elongated and elegant, with large, multifaceted eyes that tracked Sarah's movement with desperate intelligence. Around her huddled four smaller versions of herself, their skin pale and dull with hunger and fear. They couldn't have been more than children, clinging to their mother with tiny hands while making those heartbreaking sounds Sarah had heard across the void. The adult alien's eyes locked onto Sarah's faceplate, and when she spoke, the universal translator converted her words into accented but clear English. "Human," she whispered, and the word carried the weight of impossible hope. "I am Kethara of the Velnathi. I have waited for you to come." Sura knelt beside the alien family, her medical scanner revealing the extent of their situation. The mother was dying. Her bio readings showed massive internal injuries and system failure. The children were severely malnourished, their small bodies shutting down from lack of proper nutrition. "I can help," Sarah said, her voice catching. "Let me get you to my medical bay." Kethara's head moved weakly from side to side. "Too late for me, human Sarah Chen. Your ship's records told me your name when you docked. But my children, they can still live." The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. "How do you know my name? How long have you been waiting?" 3 days I have watched your vessel approach. 3 days I have prayed to the deep stars that humans possess the mercy our legends speak of." Kethara's voice grew weaker with each word. "My species. We choose our partners for life. When my mate died in the war, I became Velnathi Kethril, widow mother. I took her children and fled the killing, hoping to find sanctuary." Sarah's scanner beeped urgently. Kethara's life signs were failing rapidly, but somehow she continued speaking. "Human Sarah Chen, I make to you the Velnathi plea bond. Adopt my hungry children and be my partner in their raising. Take them as your own, love them as I cannot. This is my one wish before I join the deep stars." The words hung in the air between them, impossible and heartbreaking. Sarah stared at the dying alien mother and her 4 children, understanding that she faced a choice that would define the rest of her life. Sarah's world tilted as Kethara's words sank in. The dying alien was asking her to become a mother to 4 beings she'd never seen before, creatures whose biology she barely understood. The scientist in her reeled at the impossibility, but something deeper responded to the raw desperation in those multifaceted eyes. "I don't understand," Sarah whispered. "Why me? Why humans?" Kethara's breathing grew more labored, but her voice carried ancient knowledge. "The Velnathi have watched your species for 7 cycles. We know of your capacity for adoption across genetic lines. You take in orphaned young of other Earth species, cats, dogs, even creatures not of your world. It is rare among the stars, this human trait." One of the children, barely the size of a human toddler, crept closer to Sarah. Its skin was almost translucent with hunger, revealing the blue-silver circulatory system beneath. When it touched her gloved hand with tiny, 6-fingered fingers, Sarah felt something break open in her chest. "Their names," Kethara continued, gesturing weakly toward each child. "HFY, the eldest. She has 16 cycles and dreams of growing crystals like her father did. Nixara and Vexara, the twins with 14 cycles, they share thoughts sometimes, as twins of our kind do. And little Orinkai, only 8 cycles old, who still believes his papa will return from the war." Sarah's medical training overrode her emotional turmoil. "We need to get them nutrients immediately. What do your people eat?" "Protein chains from deep void algae, mineral supplements from asteroid cores." But Kethara's eyes dimmed. "They can adapt. Velnathi children possess metabolic flexibility during growth phases. Human foods might sustain them if introduced carefully." The ship's hull groaned around them, reminding Sarah that they were inside a dying vessel. "Can you move?" "I need to get everyone to my ship." "I cannot. My spine is severed, internal organs failing. But please, take my children now. Each moment here weakens them further." Sura looked at the 4 alien children, seeing fear and confusion in their large eyes. The eldest, HFY, stepped forward and spoke in halting, translated English. Mother Kethara, this human will care for us. She will be our new mother unit. The question pierced Sarah's heart. She thought of her empty apartment back on New Geneva, her solitary research career, the relationship that had ended 2 years ago, because she'd chosen her work over starting a family. Now the universe was offering her 4 children who needed her more desperately than she ever imagined possible. Sarah began, then stopped. How could she make such a monumental decision in minutes? But as she looked at Kethara's fading life force and the children's desperate hunger, she realized the decision had already been made. Yes, I'll take care of them. Kethara's body relaxed with visible relief. Then I performed the Vel-Nathi pairing bond. She pressed her palm against her chest, then reached towards Sarah. May I touch you? The bond requires physical contact. Sarah nodded, pulling off her glove. When Kethara's cool, smooth hand touched hers, something extraordinary happened. Images flooded Sarah's mind, memories that weren't her own. She saw the Vel-Nathi homeworld, beautiful crystalline cities growing from asteroid surfaces. She witnessed the terrible war that had torn their society apart, watched Kethara flee with her children as their world burned. But more than memories, she felt emotions. Kethara's overwhelming love for her children, her desperate hope that Sarah would protect them, her grief for the mate she'd lost. The alien mother was sharing her very essence, giving Sarah everything she needed to understand her new family. The bond is complete, Kethara whispered. You are now Vel-Nathi Kethral human, widow mother chosen. My children will recognize your scent, your voice, your emotional resonance as parent unit. The effect was immediate. All 4 children turned towards Sarah with new recognition in their eyes. Little Orin-Kai climbed into her lap, his small body trembling with exhaustion and hunger. The twins, Nixara and Vexara, moved to either side of her, their pale faces showing trust despite their fear. HFY remained standing but stepped closer, protective instincts clearly warring with her own need for comfort. What do I need to know to keep them alive? Sarah asked urgently, feeling Kethara's life force ebbing. Temperature regulation. They need warmth, humid air. Their skin will shed every 30 days as they grow. Feed them small amounts frequently rather than large meals. They are empathic. They will feel your emotions strongly, so project calm and love even when you feel fear. Kethara's voice was barely audible now. They remember everything perfectly after age 5, so speak truth to them always. Sarah felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders like a physical burden. 4 alien lives depending entirely on her knowledge, her resources, her love. Is there anything else? Anything critical? When they reach maturity, they will need to choose mates and build crystalline homes. But that is many cycles away. Kethara smiled, an expression that translated across species barriers. Love them. Sarah Chen. That is the one universal need of all young creatures. The alien mother's eyes closed, and her breathing grew shallow. Around Sarah, the 4 children began making soft keening sounds, a lullaby, she realized, sung for their dying mother. Computer, Sarah called to her ship's AI through her comm unit. Emergency medical transport. 4 juveniles, species unknown. Prepare Quarantine Bay with elevated temperature and humidity. As her ship's robotic arms carefully extracted the children from the wreckage, Sarah remained with Kethara for her final moments. The dying alien opened her eyes one last time. Thank you, she whispered. The deep stars sing of human kindness. I go to them knowing my children are safe. Kethara's hand squeezed Sarah's gently, then relaxed forever. Sarah sat in the wreckage for long minutes, holding the hand of an alien mother who had entrusted her with the most precious thing in the universe. Through her comm unit, She could hear her 4 new children crying softly in her ship's medical bay, calling for comfort she prayed she could provide. When she finally returned to her vessel, Sarah found herself facing the greatest challenge of her life. 4 alien children who needed her to be not just their caretaker, but their mother in every sense that mattered. As her ship pulled away from the dying vessel, Sarah whispered a promise to the void. "I won't let you down, Ethera. I'll love them like they're my own." Because now, impossibly, they were. The first week nearly broke Sarah's resolve completely. Her research vessel had never been designed for passengers, let alone 4 traumatized alien children who required constant care. The medical bay had become their temporary home, its sterile walls echoing with sounds Sarah was learning to interpret. Hunger calls, distress signals, and the heartbreaking keening they made when calling for their dead mother. Little Orinkai refused to eat anything Sarah offered, his translucent skin growing more pale each day. The twins, Nixara and Vexara, huddled together in the corner, their shared empathic connection creating feedback loops of fear and grief that left them catatonic for hours. HFY, the eldest, appointed herself protector of her siblings but watched Sarah with suspicious eyes, ready to fight if this strange human proved to be a threat. Computer, show me xenobiology database entries for empathic species, metabolic adaptation in juvenile organisms, and interspecies adoption protocols. Sarah commanded on the 7th day, exhaustion making her voice crack. No entries found for interspecies adoption protocols, the AI responded. Insufficient data on Velnethi biology for detailed analysis. Sarah collapsed into her chair, surrounded by scattered research tablets and empty nutrition packets. Every human food she tried had been rejected or made the children sick. Her ship's recycled air system wasn't designed for the humid atmosphere they needed, leaving them constantly dehydrated. Worst of all, she could feel their emotional distress through the bond Kethara had created, waves of loss and confusion that made her own heart ache. A soft sound made her look up. HFY stood in the doorway, her normally silver-blue skin dulled with grief, but her large eyes alert with purpose. "Mother Sarah," she said, the translated words careful and formal. "I must speak truth to you as Mother Kethera taught." Sarah straightened, hearing the weight behind the young alien's words. "What is it, HFY?" "My siblings grow weak. Orinkai will not survive another day without proper nutrition. I have knowledge of Velnethi biology that might help, but you must trust me completely." The 16-year-old moved with adult dignity as she approached Sarah's workstation. Despite everything, Sarah felt a surge of pride. This child had strength that transcended species. "Tell me what you need," Sarah said. HFY's 6-fingered hands moved across Sarah's computer interface with surprising skill. "Our digestive systems can process many organic compounds, but we require specific mineral chains to activate our metabolic absorption. Your human foods contain these minerals, but in forms we cannot access." Images appeared on the screen, complex molecular diagrams that looked like crystalline structures. If you can create an electrical field at precisely 47 Hz frequency and apply it to your protein rations for 17 minutes, the molecular bonds will shift into forms we can digest. Sarah stared at the data, her scientific mind racing. "That's actually brilliant. You're talking about controlled electrolysis to break down complex proteins into simpler amino chains." "Yes, Father Theron taught me much about molecular chemistry before the war took him." HFY's skin darkened with remembered pain. "Mother Kethera said you would have the tools to help us, but she could not live long enough to explain how." Working together, Sarah and HFY rigged her ship's laboratory equipment to create the precise electrical field needed. The first batch of modified rations looked unappetizing. A gray, paste-like substance that reminded Sarah uncomfortably of baby food. But when they brought it to the other children, the reaction was immediate. Ornkay's skin brightened the moment he smelled the food. The twins' shared emotional resonance shifted from despair to hope. For the first time since coming aboard, all 4 children ate eagerly, their bodies visibly strengthening as they absorbed proper nutrition. "Thank you," Sarah whispered to HFY as they watched the younger ones eat. "You saved them." "We saved them," HFY corrected. "You have human tools and knowledge. I have Velnathi understanding. Together we are stronger than either species alone." That evening, Sarah made her first real connection with her new family. Orcs, his energy restored by proper food, climbed into her lap while she worked on atmospheric adjustments. His small body was warm and solid, his breathing a gentle rhythm against her chest. When he fell asleep there, trusting and content, Sarah felt something shift inside her heart. The twins demonstrated their empathic link by wordlessly coordinating their movements, finishing each other's sentences, and sharing dreams that left them giggling in their alien language each morning. They began following Sarah around the ship, curious about every piece of human technology, their natural intelligence shining through despite the language barrier. But it was HFY who surprised Sarah most. The eldest child possessed not just intelligence but wisdom beyond her years. She began teaching Sarah basic Velnathi customs, explaining the significance of their daily rituals and helping translate her siblings' emotional needs. "When Velnathi children are frightened, we sing the deep star songs," HFY explained one night when Orcs couldn't sleep. "They remind us that we are part of something larger than our immediate fear." Sarah listened as all 4 children harmonized in their natural voices, creating music that seemed to resonate through the ship's hull itself. The melody was hauntingly beautiful, speaking of vast spaces and ancient wisdom. When they finished, Orcs was sleeping peacefully, and even Sarah felt more centered than she had in days. "Will you teach me the words?" Sarah asked. HFY's skin shimmered with pleased surprise. "You would learn our songs. You're learning human ways. It seems only fair that I learn yours." Over the following days, Sarah's ship became a strange hybrid of human technology and Velnathi culture. The children taught her their language while she helped them understand human customs. They shared meals of electrolyzed protein paste that tasted better each day as they refined the process. The twins built small crystal formations in empty storage compartments, creating beautiful geometric patterns that seemed to calm their empathic resonance. Most importantly, they began to heal from their trauma. Sarah watched the children's skin regain its natural luminescence, saw them play games that involved complex 6-limbed movements she couldn't hope to copy, heard them laugh in ways that sounded like musical chimes. But their destination loomed ahead, New Geneva Station, where Sarah would have to explain to Colonial Command why she'd adopted 4 alien children and brought them into human space without authorization. The thought kept her awake at night, wondering if she'd made a terrible mistake that would tear her new family apart. "Mother Sarah," HFY said quietly one evening, finding Sarah staring out the viewport at the approaching station lights. "You fear the other humans will not accept us." Sarah nodded, not trusting her voice. "Then we will prove to them what you have already learned. That love creates family across any difference." HFY's hand found Sarah's, cool and strange, but somehow perfect. "We are Velnathi Kethral human now. We belong together." As New Geneva Station grew larger in the viewport, Sarah held her eldest daughter's hand and prayed that the universe would let them stay together. They'd already survived the impossible. Perhaps they could survive the bureaucracy of human civilization as well. New Geneva Station's docking bay fell silent when Sarah's airlock opened. She emerged first, her heart hammering, as she faced the assembly of Colonial Command officers, xenobiologists, and security personnel who had been waiting for her arrival. Behind her, she heard the soft whispers of her children in their native language, HFY translating reassurances to her younger siblings. "Dr. Chen." Admiral Morrison stepped forward, his weathered face unreadable. "We received your preliminary report. 4 alien juveniles recovered from a derelict vessel, species unknown, requesting temporary sanctuary pending full xenobiological assessment. Sarah's throat went dry. Her official report had been carefully worded to avoid the complete truth. She hadn't mentioned the bonding ceremony, the desperate plea of a dying mother, or her promise to raise these children as her own. Those details felt too precious, too vulnerable to expose to military scrutiny. Yes, sir, they require specialized care and… Dr. Chen. The voice cut through her explanation like ice. Dr. Kalina Vasquez, head of the Colonial Xenobiology Commission, stepped into view. Sarah's former mentor looked older than she remembered, her once warm brown eyes now sharp with professional suspicion. You've been incommunicado for 11 days. Your last transmission mentioned routine planetary surveys, not first contact with an unknown species. Behind Sarah, little Orinkai made a soft distress sound. The 8-year-old had bonded most strongly with her, and he could sense her fear through their empathic connection. Sarah felt HFY's hand brush her shoulder, a gesture of support that gave her strength. The situation developed rapidly, Sarah said, choosing her words carefully. I responded to a distress beacon and found survivors in critical condition. There wasn't time for proper protocols. Admiral Morrison's aide, a young lieutenant with nervous eyes, consulted his tablet. Scans show the juveniles are in good health now, though showing signs of recent malnutrition and stress. No signs of disease or biological incompatibility with station atmosphere. Where are their parents? Dr. Vasquez demanded. Adult members of their species. Surely they didn't survive alone in deep space. Sarah felt the weight of 4 pairs of alien eyes watching her, trusting her to protect them from this interrogation. Their mother died from injuries sustained in their vessel's destruction. She asked me to care for them. The words hung in the air, and Sarah saw understanding dawn in several faces. Dr. Vasquez's expression softened slightly, but her voice remained clinical. Dr. Chen, I understand your humanitarian impulses, but you cannot simply adopt alien children. There are protocols, quarantine procedures, cultural compatibility assessments. These beings may have needs we cannot meet, social structures we don't understand. I've been meeting their needs for 2 weeks, Sarah replied, surprising herself with the firmness in her voice. They're healthy, they're learning human customs, and they've been teaching me theirs. They're not just specimens to be studied, they're children who've lost everything. HFY stepped forward, her teenage dignity impressive even in the face of so many staring humans. When she spoke, her translated English was clear and formal. Honored human officials, I am HFY, daughter unit of deceased Cathara and bonded child of Sarah Chen. I speak for my siblings when I say we understand your concerns about our presence in human space. A murmur went through the assembled officials. Few had expected such articulate communication from what their reports had described as traumatized refugees. My mother performed the traditional Vel-Nathi bonding ceremony with Sarah Chen before her death. HFY continued. This makes Sarah our legal guardian by both human and Vel-Nathi custom. We ask only for the chance to prove we can integrate peacefully into human society. Dr. Vasquez stepped closer, her scientific curiosity overriding her caution. Bonding ceremony? You mean your species has formal adoption rituals that cross genetic lines? Yes, the Vel-Nathi recognize that family bonds transcend biological origin. We have studied human customs during our journey here and find remarkable similarities in your concepts of adoption and fostering. HFY's skin shimmered with what Sarah had learned was a sign of nervous determination. We wish to become citizens of human space, with Sarah Chen as our legal guardian. The request sent shockwaves through the assembly. Alien citizenship had never been requested before, let alone by children seeking adoption by a human parent. Admiral Morrison exchanged glances with Dr. Vasquez before speaking. This is unprecedented. We'll need extensive evaluations, psychological assessments, cultural integration studies. The process could take months. Where will the children stay during this evaluation period? Sarah asked, dreading the answer. Standard procedure would be quarantine facilities while. No. The word came out sharper than Sarah intended. They've been through enough trauma. They need stability, familiar faces, routine care. Separating us now would be cruel and counterproductive to any evaluation process. Dr. Vasquez studied Sarah with the intense gaze she remembered from graduate school. You've become quite attached to them, haven't you? They're my children, Sarah said simply. Biology doesn't define family. The silence stretched until Oren-Kai broke free from his siblings and ran to Sarah, wrapping his small arms around her legs. His distress at the tense conversation was obvious, and when Sarah picked him up, he buried his face against her shoulder with a soft keening sound. The sight of the small alien child seeking comfort from his human mother had a visible impact on the observers. Several of the hard-faced officials softened visibly, and Sarah saw nods of understanding pass between them. There may be a precedent we can work with, Admiral Morrison said slowly. Emergency fostering provisions allow for temporary custody arrangements in exceptional circumstances. If Dr. Chen agrees to comprehensive monitoring and regular evaluations, we might authorize a trial period. Hope flared in Sarah's chest, but Dr. Vasquez raised a warning hand. The conditions would be strict. Regular medical and psychological evaluations for all 5 of you. Educational assessments to ensure the children can adapt to human learning systems. Cultural integration classes. And any sign that this arrangement is harmful to either the children or human society will result in immediate intervention. Sarah looked down at Oren-Kai and her arms, then at the twins holding each other's hands for comfort, and finally at HFY, whose mature gaze held both hope and determination. We accept, Sarah said, whatever it takes to stay together. The twins' empathic resonance shifted to joy so strong that Sarah felt it like a warm wave. HFY's skin brightened to its healthy silver blue, and Oren-Kai lifted his head to look at the assembled humans with curious rather than fearful eyes. Very well, Admiral Morrison declared. Emergency fostering provisions are hereby enacted. Dr. Chen, you and your family will be assigned quarters on Research Level 7. Dr. Vasquez will oversee the evaluation process. As the officials began to disperse, Sarah's former mentor approached with a complex expression. Sarah, I hope you understand what you've taken on. Raising human children is challenging enough. Alien children with unknown psychological and social needs. They're not that different from us, Sarah interrupted gently. They need love, security, education, and the chance to grow into who they're meant to become. The same things all children need. Dr. Vasquez studied the 4 Velnathi children, who were now chattering excitedly in their musical language as they looked around the docking bay with wonder. Perhaps you're right, she admitted. But this will change everything. For them, for you, and for how humanity relates to alien species. Are you prepared for that responsibility? Sarah felt HFY's cool hand slip into hers, anchoring her with its familiar touch. Around her, her children waited for her answer with complete trust in their large, expressive eyes. Yes, Sarah said firmly. We're ready. 6 months later, Sarah stood at the observation deck of New Geneva Station watching HFY lead a group of human teenagers through an advanced crystallography presentation. Her eldest daughter moved with confident grace, her skin shimmering with excitement, as she demonstrated how Velnathi crystal growing techniques could revolutionize human materials science. She's remarkable, Dr. Vasquez commented, joining Sarah at the viewing window. All of them are. I owe you an apology, Sarah. When you first brought them here, I thought you were making a mistake driven by emotion rather than logic. Sarah smiled, remembering those early days of constant evaluations and skeptical observers. What changed your mind? Data, Helena replied with a slight smile. The twins scored higher on spatial reasoning tests than 90% of human children their age. Oren Kai has already begun composing mathematical theorems that our quantum physicists find intriguing. And HFY, she gestured toward the presentation. She's teaching us things about molecular engineering that could transform our technology. Through the viewing window, they watched the human teenagers listening with rapt attention as HFY sang a deep harmonic note that caused the crystalline structure in her hands to grow visibly. The demonstration always drew gasps of amazement. The Velnathi ability to influence molecular growth through precisely tuned sonic frequencies seemed almost magical to human observers. More importantly, Felina continued, the psychological evaluations show all 4 children are thriving. Their trauma responses have decreased significantly, their social integration scores are excellent, and their emotional stability metrics are actually higher than the baseline for human children their age. Sarah felt a familiar surge of pride mixed with protective love. The journey hadn't been easy. There had been bureaucratic battles, cultural misunderstandings, and moments when she questioned her own ability to give the children what they needed. But watching them flourish in their new environment made every struggle worthwhile. Dr. Chen, please report to Medical Bay 7 immediately. The station's intercom crackled to life with an urgent message that made Sarah's blood chill. What's wrong? Felina asked, seeing Sarah's expression change. That's where the twins are having their monthly health screening. Sarah replied, already moving toward the exit. They were supposed to be finished hours ago. The medical bay was in chaos when Sarah arrived. Dr. Martinez, the station's chief physician, met her at the door with barely controlled panic in his eyes. We need to talk privately, he said, guiding her away from the main examination room where she could hear the twins' distressed keening sounds. What's happening? Are they sick? Sarah's heart hammered as she followed him into his office. Not sick exactly, but Dr. Martinez pulled up a holographic display showing complex biological scans. Sarah, Nixara, and Vexara are undergoing some kind of transformation. Their cellular structure is shifting at the molecular level. We've never seen anything like it. The medical data looked like abstract art to Sarah's untrained eye, swirling patterns of energy that seemed to pulse with their own rhythm. What does it mean? I don't know. Their body temperature has increased by 3 degrees, their brain activity has doubled, and their empathic resonance is so strong it's affecting our medical equipment. They're conscious and coherent, but they keep asking for you and their siblings. Sarah pushed past him toward the examination room, her protective instincts overriding any caution. She found the twins sitting on the medical bed, holding hands while their skin flickered between silver blue and deep purple in rapid, synchronized patterns. Mother Sarah. They called out in unison, their voices harmonizing in a way she'd never heard before. When she approached, they both reached for her with their free hands, and the moment she made contact, images flooded her mind. She saw the Velnathi homeworld as it had been before the war. Vast crystalline cities that sang with harmonic frequencies, adults whose skin could shift into any color of the spectrum, and children who could share thoughts and emotions across vast distances. But more than memories, she felt understanding flow into her consciousness. We're reaching maturity, Nixara explained, her mental voice clear in Sarah's mind. Earlier than normal because of the trauma we experienced. Our empathic abilities are expanding. Can you hear each other's thoughts now? Sarah asked, amazed by the direct mental communication. Not just each other's, Vexara added through their shared mental link. We can sense the emotional states of everyone on this level of the station. It's overwhelming, but also wonderful. We can feel how much the humans here care about us, how proud you are of our family. Dr. Martinez approached with his scanner, his face filled with scientific wonder. Their neural activity is off the charts. If this is natural maturation for their species, they may be developing telepathic capabilities. Sarah felt a mixture of excitement and worry. Is it dangerous? Are they in pain? No pain, the twins said together, both mentally and vocally. Just growing. Like butterflies emerging from cocoons, but for our minds instead of our bodies. Over the following hours, HFY and Orin Kai arrived to support their siblings through the transformation. Sarah watched in amazement as all 4 children created a harmony circle, a Velnathi ritual where they shared emotional strength through synchronized breathing and harmonic humming. This is how our people help each other through major life changes, HFY explained. The twins are pioneering the way for Orin Kai and me when our time comes. As the transformation completed, the twins' appearance stabilized into something more mature and ethereal. Their skin now held a permanent opalescent quality, shifting through subtle color variations that seemed to reflect their emotional states. Most remarkably, they could now communicate telepathically not just with each other, but with any willing participant. "We can teach humans this ability," Nixara said, her mental voice filled with excitement. "The empathic resonance can be learned. We could bridge the gap between our species in ways Mother Kethera never imagined." Dr. Martinez was practically vibrating with scientific enthusiasm. The implications are staggering. If telepathic communication can be learned, it could revolutionize not just human-Velnathi relations, but our understanding of consciousness itself. Sarah felt a warm glow of pride watching her children become pioneers in interspecies relations. But her maternal instincts also worried about the burden such abilities might place on their young shoulders. "We need to be careful," she said aloud, and through the mental link the twins had established with her. "This kind of ability could make you targets for people who want to exploit your gifts." HFY nodded gravely. "Mother Sarah is wise. On our homeworld, those with advanced empathic abilities often became counselors or diplomats. But they also required special protection because their minds were so open to others." As word of the twins' transformation spread through the station, Sarah found herself fielding requests from researchers, diplomats, and military officials who wanted to study or interview her children. Each request felt like a potential threat to the family unity it worked so hard to build. "We need to establish boundaries," Sarah told Helena during their weekly evaluation meeting. "They're still children, despite their advanced abilities. They need time to understand their new gifts before being thrust into the spotlight." Helena nodded, but her expression showed the weight of competing pressures. "I agree completely, but you have to understand the position we're in. The Colonial Council has never dealt with telepathic aliens before. There are questions about security, privacy rights, the potential for mental manipulation." "My children would never hurt anyone," Sarah said firmly. "Their empathic nature makes them incapable of deliberately causing emotional harm." "I believe that, but others are less trusting. There's talk of requiring telepathic dampening fields in sensitive areas, registration requirements for psychic abilities, even discussions about limiting their movement within human space." The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. After everything they'd overcome, the thought of her children being treated as potential threats rather than the remarkable individuals they'd become was unbearable. "Over my dead body," she whispered, then louder. "I won't let them turn my children into prisoners or lab specimens." That evening, Sarah called a family meeting in their quarters. The spacious rooms had been modified to accommodate Velnathi needs, higher humidity, specialized lighting that could shift through the color spectrum, and areas where the children could practice their crystal growing abilities. It had become a true home, filled with the sounds of laughter, learning, and love. "We need to talk about some difficult decisions," Sarah began, looking at each of her children's faces. Even after 6 months, she still felt amazed that these remarkable beings had chosen to trust her with their lives. HFY, now nearly 17 and showing signs of approaching her own maturation transformation, sat with adult composure. The twins, still adjusting to their new telepathic abilities, maintained constant physical contact to help regulate their expanded empathic range. Little Orin Kai, who had grown several inches and whose skin now held a healthy luminescence, curled up beside Sarah with the easy affection of a child who had never doubted his place in the family. "Some humans are afraid of our new abilities," Nixera said through their mental link, her thoughts tinged with sadness. We can feel their fear when we pass them in the corridors. Not all humans, Vexara added. Many are curious and excited, but the fearful ones have loud emotions that are hard to block out. Sarah felt her heart break a little at the thought of her children experiencing prejudice and fear. How do you want to handle this? We could request transfer to a research station with more open-minded scientists, or even return to deep space for a while until things settle down. No. Zephai's response was immediate and firm. We cannot run from fear. If we do, it will only grow stronger in our absence. We must face this challenge and prove that Velnathi and humans can coexist peacefully. Orenkai looked up at Sarah with his large, trusting eyes. Will they try to separate us again, Mother Sarah? The question pierced her heart. Not if I have anything to say about it, but we may need to make some compromises to keep our family together. Over the following weeks, Sarah worked with Helena and the station administration to develop protocols that would address security concerns while protecting her children's rights and dignity. The twins volunteered to demonstrate their abilities in controlled settings, showing that their telepathy required willing participation and could not be used to access memories or thoughts without consent. Zephai began teaching xenobiology classes, sharing Velnathi knowledge of biological processes that had applications in human medicine and agriculture. Her natural teaching ability and matured wisdom made her popular with both students and faculty, helping to shift perception of the Velnathi from mysterious aliens to valuable contributors to human knowledge. Even little Orenkai played his part, charming everyone he met with his infectious curiosity about human customs and his innocent questions that often revealed profound insights about the similarities between their species. The breakthrough came when the twins successfully taught basic empathic resonance to a volunteer group of human students. The ability to directly share emotional states, even in a limited way, created bonds of understanding that transcended species barriers. It's like seeing color for the first time. One student reported after her first successful empathic connection with Nixara. I could feel her joy at my success, her patience when I struggled, her genuine affection for me as a learning partner. How could anyone fear beings capable of such pure, open emotion? Word of the success spread throughout the station and beyond. Requests began arriving from diplomatic corps, counseling services, and educational institutions asking for Velnathi advisors or teachers. The fear was slowly being replaced by recognition of the incredible gifts Sarah's children could offer humanity. But the greatest validation came from an unexpected source. A delegation of human children from the station's civilian families requested permission to form a study group with the Velnathi siblings. They wanted to learn crystal growing, harmonic communication, and empathic resonance techniques. Sarah watched through the observation windows as her 4 children worked with a dozen human youngsters, patiently teaching skills that their species had developed over millennia. The sight of children from different worlds learning from each other, laughing together, and forming friendships that transcended biology filled her with hope for the future. You've done something remarkable here, Helena said, joining Sarah at the window. Not just raising alien children, but creating a bridge between our species that could change the course of galactic relations. Sarah shook her head, smiling as she watched Orin Kai help a human girl half his age grow her first crystal formation. I didn't do this. They did. I just gave them a safe place to be themselves and grow into who they were meant to become. Which is exactly what every good parent does, Helena replied. The species difference is irrelevant. Love, guidance, protection, encouragement, those are universal parenting constants. As the study session ended and children from 2 worlds hugged goodbye with promises to continue their lessons tomorrow, Sarah felt a deep sense of completion. Kethara's desperate plea in the wreckage of her dying ship had seemed impossible at the time. Adopt alien children, and somehow make it work. But love had indeed proven to be the universal constant that transcended every barrier. Her children were no longer refugees or specimens or curiosities. They were citizens of human space, teachers and learners, bridges between worlds, and most importantly, her beloved family. The scared, starving youngsters she'd found in that wreckage had grown into confident, capable individuals who were helping to shape a better future for both their species. That night, as Sarah tucked Orin Kai into bed and listened to him practice the human lullaby she taught him alongside the Velnathi Deep Star songs, she whispered a message to the void where Kethera's spirit dwelt among the stars. Your children are safe, loved, and thriving. They're changing the galaxy, one friend at a time. Thank you for trusting me with them. In the distance, she could hear the twins' telepathic laughter as they shared dreams with their human study partners, and Zephai's soft humming as she worked on her latest crystal formation. The sounds of her family, alien and familiar, strange and comforting, impossible and absolutely perfect.